Commercial real estate has a universal set of principles that anyone involved in buying, leasing, or developing property should know. Whether you're an investor or business owner or brand new to the field, before even starting to look at deals, there are some basic concepts that you must tackle first. Now, before we dive in, let's take a quick look at what we're going to cover in this section so you'll have a good idea of these concepts. We're going to define commercial real estate. We're going to go over what the Big Four is. We're going to talk about consumer knowledge, business acumen, market types, and asset types. So let's start off with the definition. Commercial real estate, or CRE, refers to the properties that are used for business or income-producing purposes, not a personal residence or a personal dwelling. So let's go into the Big Four first. You probably heard the old saying, the three most important things in commercial real estate or any kind of real estate is location, location, location. While that's true, commercial property also takes a look at something called the Big Four. The Big Four are zoning, use, access, and visibility. Zoning determines how the property is regulated by local governments. Use defines the intended and permitted business purposes for the property. Access refers to how easily it can be reached, and visibility is how noticeable it is from major roads and public areas. Understanding the Big Four gives you a foundation to evaluate any commercial site right away. The next concept we're going to move on to is consumer knowledge. Now that you understand what defines real estate in the Big Four, let's talk about how you can apply your consumer knowledge that you've gotten growing up in the United States to be able to help you look at commercial property. Believe it or not, you already know a lot about real estate. Every time you visit a gas station, a grocery store, a coffee shop, or you're engaging with other people in businesses, you're taking part in the action of commercial property. Think about it. What makes locations appealing to others? Why do some businesses always seem busy and why do some fail every time they go into the same building? And how does access and visibility affect success? Your experiences as a consumer give you powerful insight to what makes commercial spaces thrive. It's your knowledge that you've been building your entire life, and now we're going to put some structure around it. Now that you understand the concept of consumer knowledge and you have that base, let's talk about your knowledge of business acumen. Business acumen is understanding how businesses actually operate and how money moves and how profits are made. In commercial real estate, this is a crucial skill. Now, you don't need a business degree or anything like that, but you do need to understand the basics of how certain businesses run their operations. For example, if you're evaluating a restaurant property, think about all the equipment and the kitchen installation and the health department and the requirements for staffing and overhead costs and working capital and financing. And of course, leasing rates and profit margins. When you understand how businesses function, you can analyze properties more clearly, and it'll help you also guide your decisions. Now let's transition into the types of the different markets. Now that you understand how businesses run, let's zoom in and look at the types of markets that those businesses are going to operate in. Commercial properties exist within different market types, and each have their own unique dynamics. So first, let's go over the gateway markets. These are the 6 largest markets in the United States. That's New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Boston, and Washington, D.C. Those are the primary markets. And then we have other metropolitan areas that have 1 million people or more in it, and those are in significant areas where you can discover what trends are. Then there's the tertiary markets. The tertiary markets are usually where there are less than 100,000 people in that market. Being able to understand how these different markets are developed and structured helps you to understand where you are when you're evaluating a deal, and knowing how that market functions, it'll help you understand the investment trends and how to tailor your strategy around what market that you're in. Now that we are talking about where the action happens, let's talk about the landscape of commercial properties by breaking them down into asset types. Commercial properties are grouped by how businesses are operated within their spaces. So let's go over the different ones real quick so you have an idea. First, you have retail, shopping centers and restaurants and stores. Then you have office, that's business offices, medical buildings, government facilities. Then you have industrial, that's warehouses, distribution centers. Then you have multifamily. That's properties with 5 or more units. Then there's hospitality. Those are hotels and motels. And then there's special use properties such as theaters, car washes, and churches. And then you have land. Understanding these categories help you recognize what your goals are whenever you're looking into commercial real estate and being able to evaluate what types of assets you're dealing with. So now that we've looked at all these core concepts, you'll be able to figure out how you can apply these core concepts consistently so that you can think more strategically and communicate more effectively on how to move through transactions with confidence and control. These are the building blocks of every successful deal and the starting point where everything else you learn in commercial real estate is going to launch from.